So that's our Carissa Explains It All. We're looking for on weeks we don't have our, how do you put it, interviews. Carissa does science.
Yes.
We did dark matter, dark energy, relativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to hit subscribe if you want to learn about nerdy pop culture and actual, science.
And if you have any particular topics you want me to cover.
And a better name. She hates the name.
Better name would definitely be appreciated.
All right, what's next? Section 3.
Section 3.
So we sat down with Devon Ryan, who we know through Miss Eloise.
Yes.
Who joined us on Freeform Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
She's also how we got together with Farrah Abraham and blew up on Instagram. That was kind of awesome. Devon's really interesting, so let's go ahead and check that interview out now. So we're sitting here with Devon Ryan, founder of Unwind. You and who else? It was you and a buddy.
Yeah, I have a business partner named Fabio Gomez.
Fabio Gomez, that's right. I met Fabio, didn't I? Wasn't he the one I met at ACC?
ACC? I don't think you met Fabio yet.
That wasn't. You had somebody with you when we went to that Christmas concert with Miss Eloise.
Miss Eloise? No, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember Fabio being there.
I just remember you're like, this is my business. This is my business partner. So maybe.
Where were we at?
ACC. We were in the performance room.
Oh, yeah, okay. When you said ACC, I was totally thinking about something else.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So welcome. So you guys started Unwind.
Yes. Which
is such a cool idea. It's a social network for wine drinkers.
Well, we started Lion Mobile. That's the name of our company. And so it's a software company. And then one of our products is Unwind. Yeah.
What other products are you guys doing?
Well, so we started off as a mobile dev shop, and we were developing for other businesses. And then we had one of our own ideas, which was this wine app.
Very cool.
And so that became our flagship product.
Gotcha. So in the early days, it was a lot of, hi, I need to make an app for my florist shop, and
yeah. Everyone has an app idea. There's tons of startups and these small businesses who need mobile development. So we would just through word of mouth, we would get these gigs and we would develop for them.
Yeah. And Unwind, it's getting big. You guys have what, 10,000 users now?
We got definitely over 10,000, and it's growing. I would say that I haven't checked recently, but we're trying to make a clear path to 100,000.
Yeah.
And so once we feel like we have that clear path, then we will know that we're product market fit.
Okay. And then that's when you go start raising some serious money.
Yes, exactly.
For heavier expansion.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in soft launch. It's up. There's 10,000 people, but it's about to go. It's about to blow up. So let's help. So make sure you've got a link. We'll put a link in the description of the video.
Okay.
And if you like wine and you like meeting new people, that's the way to do it. Plus, there's a lot of. I was looking at it. It looks like there's a lot of educational resources too.
Yes and no. I would say that
that might be user-generated content.
It's all user-generated. I would say that it's mainly in a place where you can record your wine experiences, and we notice that when people do that, they'll write their own wine notes, or they'll say, "Hey, this goes good with this food," and then as a result, whenever you get on the app to say record your own wine experience, you might see somebody else's posting, and you'll discover that. So incidentally, you'll learn something by being on the app.
That's it. That's how that kind of goes. Like, I'm part of a community for audio engineers, obviously, and I've been with that community for 10 years. And I went to school for this, but I probably learned more from the community and interacting with the community than I ever did in school, learning about it directly.
Nice.
Because in school, they can only teach you one very specific way of doing things. And in audio, that's not the way to approach the world. Like, you have to think of it in terms of, how do I do it and how else can I do it? And then what are the benefits of going the other way? But yeah. So you were just in Vegas
Twice
twice.
this year already.
You've been to Vegas in 2017.
Yeah.
So do you sleep much?
Actually, I do.
Oh, there
I
you
sleep
go.
a lot.
On the plane.
No. Actually, that's whenever I get a lot of work done is when I'm on the plane.
Really?
But I make sure that I get at least 7.5 hours of sleep every night.
That's why you're thin and I'm not. They've linked the amount of a lack of sleep with obesity.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know
So if
that.
you're heavy, go to bed a little earlier.
It's funny though. A lot of people that I meet think that I don't sleep.
Well, because you're busy.
I am busy,
You're
but
perpetually busy.
but sleeping is a major component of not just being busy, but being productive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, I feel like a lot of people are busy, but there's that distinct line between being busy and productive.
Right, a lot of people look busy,
Yeah.
but they're. And my mantra. So before we started this interview, you were like, so you weren't even aware the show was live.
Well,
Which is good. But we
Yeah.
have a video. I'll put a card. It's called "All That Matters Is Output,"
okay.
because it doesn't really matter how long it takes you. It doesn't matter how difficult it is for you. All that matters is the result. And that's kind of my mantra, right? Because nobody cares about how I make the records. Everybody cares about what they sound like when they're done. So all that matters is the output. And it sounds like that's kind of like it has to be of quality. I didn't say quantity of output, but all that matters is what the output is, not the process of getting there. But everybody finds the process fascinating.
I think, so I've definitely heard that you can be results driven, right, or process driven. And I think, actually, I read about this thing called the power of the and.
Okay.
And the tyranny of the or. I got this from Jim Collins.
Okay.
And so it basically talks about you'll find a lot of paradoxical things in life, and what it talks about is being able to hold both of those concepts in your mind simultaneously, right? A lot of people struggle with that, and so I think it's really impactful to try to embody both. And knowing when to be results oriented and when to know when to be process oriented, and there's tons of other like paradoxical things that you can look at.
I've never heard it put that way. That's exactly it though, because I'm very process oriented until it's time to do it,
Yeah.
and then it's just now focus on the result.
Another example is some people say, you got to think big picture and be a visionary, and then some people are like, well, I like to be a devil in the details, right? And they automatically categorize themselves. But I believe that it's both. You need to be able to zoom out at the right time, but then whenever it's time to take care of business, you need to zoom in and get on the details and take care of business. And so just to give an example for that is like at the beginning of every single year, you zoom out, right? Like, okay, how much progress have we made so far with our record label? Are we making progress?
We definitely made some. We did a video. The tough part for us is we did a video for New Year's, but that I think came out New Year's Day because our video the full show comes out on Sundays, and so nobody watched. But yeah, we had a good year.
You had a good year, and you recognize those successes. You zoomed out. What were our successes? What do we do that works? Okay, and then figure out what are we doing that doesn't work. Right. Okay. Take those successes and let's zoom in on that and replicate them in 2017. Right.
Right. Well, for us, we didn't. Yeah, for us, it's all just increasing the output. We got 2 records out in 2016. We're going for 12 this year.
Okay.
It's an ambitious goal. One a month.
Okay.
One a month. We got Best of Freeform Fridays is done. We're about to start physical manufacturing of that basically as soon as this next session is over, and that's what's set up out there. I don't know if you noticed, we do all of our manufacturing in house.
Nice.
Literally. So but yeah. And what about you? So what are you changing for Unwind this year? What's on the board, so to speak?
Let's see. So the roadmap, we are looking into, we have a few different new partnerships that we're working with some wineries who want to partner with us. And then one of the most popular features is badgering, but we don't call them badges per se. We call them merits. And so we have a whole batch of new merits coming out. And so all that is when you drink a specific type of wine, or you drink on a holiday, you earn a merit that goes with that wine experience. And that is like one of the most popular features.
You gamified it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like Xbox achievements. Achievement unlocked.
Okay, yes.
Drank Merlot.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. My parents didn't drink a ton of wine, weren't well versed in it, and I've gotten well, not super well versed, but I've become very aware of all the details of it through gigging, because I play all these wineries. So I find the whole industry fascinating. It's one of the few things where like a very small farm can still be successful. Usually it takes huge amounts of land to do anything of note.
Yeah, and so I know one of the trends in that industry is urban wineries.
Oh, urban wineries.
Yeah. So
would you like a little exhaust with that Merlot? Yeah, I guess I would. That's not a bad idea though, because it keeps you can get it out faster.
Yeah.
That's very
You're
cool.
closer to your customer.
Right, and your customer can be more involved with the process.
Yes.
Of like watching you make the wine. Like Calais does this great thing where they have people come in and help bottle it. And these are not low-end bottles of wine. These are high-end bottles of wine. And people come in to volunteer to help bottle it. I think he gives everybody a bottle.
I've seen that happen before too.
But you're building a community.
Yeah,
and that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Do you so how do you interact with the community much, or are you kind of hands off at this point?
Oh no, we're definitely engaging the community, because at the end of the day, they're the customer, right?
Sure.
And they're going to have the insights. They're going to have the pain points that we want to solve as the entrepreneurs, right? So I engage them as much as possible without annoying them, and just trying to figure out, hey, what could we do better? What problem do you have that we're not solving? And that's a evolution. That's an ongoing process.
And it's hard to you can't really ask that question direct. Like you can, but you don't get an honest answer when you ask it directly. It's more like
right. Yeah.
You have to really study what they're doing with the app to figure out what they're.
It's a little bit of both, right? And I would say it's some of it's an art.
Yeah.
And so something that I've learned that works is, basically talking to them, face to face, asking the questions, and then have them actually do something where you're not monitoring them or they don't think you are, and then try to find that discrepancy. They told you X, but whenever they went into the app, they did Y, right? And then if you can figure out the discrepancy, that the linkage between those two, that's going to be your real aha moment. And those are the type of things that I try to look at whenever I'm interviewing my or studying my consumers.
That's very cool. And you guys, is the app easy to submit feedback, or is it kind of obtuse to go give feedback on the app?
We try to make it as simple as possible.
That's good.
I think one way you do it is you can actually shake the app.
Really?
Yeah, you just shake it and a little message will pop up and it says something like, you like shaking things up, leave us your feedback, and you just tap it and you can type it in your message.
See, now that's pretty cool. Well, and what I find interesting is I think we're going to see Facebook decline, and I think we're going to see social media fragment again.
Why is that?
Well, Facebook is in a position where they're going to have to censor. They've attained such a size that they're almost a public whatever at this point, right? They're bigger than any television company, but they have no censorship requirements, where television does. So there's been this crackdown on fake news and all these things, and so Facebook is going to have to step that whole thing up, which is going to turn off a ton of users. And the way these social networks work, because I remember MySpace, I remember Friendster, I remember LiveJournal, once the numbers start declining, the whole thing just kind of comes down like a house of cards. Because social networks are only as good as their users. So it's good that you get people generating user content. Because unless you have that, you have nothing on a social network.
I mean, that'd be very interesting to watch, to see that huge tree fall, right? Because I think that's the biggest player right now is Facebook.
They are the largest in the industry, I think. And I think them buying Instagram was a smart idea because I have way more. Facebook for me is a huge turnoff. I don't use it that much.
Facebook?
I've really started to dial it back. I promote the things that I'm promoting, but that's about it anymore because when I post something on Facebook, for example, if I post a picture of this microphone, and the reason I say this is there's a picture of this microphone on Instagram.
Go like it now if you haven't.
Right, so it's the Jazz Destroyers on Instagram. And when I post something on Instagram, we get about 50 likes. Right? And on Facebook, if you post that same picture, you'll get about 10. And granted, the audience on Instagram is about twice the size as Facebook just because of everything. But Instagram's not hiding my posts to try to get me to buy ads. Facebook won't really show my posts from the Get Off My Lawn Records page to people until a few people start liking it. So they'll show it to a very small subset, and then if it's getting lots of engagement, then it increases, and they'll finally show it to all of the people who liked the page. It's really from a business perspective, they're really hard to work with. Yeah, and that's why we're here on YouTube because I like YouTube a lot more.
Right. Well, I mean, just to kind of tie in our previous part of our conversation, it's like, okay, let's zoom out for a second. Look at the lay of the land, okay, in terms of your social media strategy, right?
That's why I'm still there.
And it's like
it's the biggest audience.
What's working?
Yep.
What's not working? It sounds to me like Instagram's working.
Yep.
You know why it's working. You know why Facebook's not working. So it's time to zoom in on one thing.
Right. The tough part I have with Instagram is the Instagram is very walled. So where I have this podcast, I can't post a 2-hour video to Instagram.
Okay.
And you can't really post links on Instagram easily. Yeah. And you can't get out of Instagram very easily. So it's like, we're on YouTube. It's very hard to get somebody to open up the YouTube app, punch in Get Off My Lawn Records or the Jazz Destroyers, where Facebook at least links out pretty well. But yeah, Facebook's got its hooks in everything. It will probably stick around forever, or not ever, but it will probably stick around a good long time. But yeah, watch the user engagement's going to drop once they start getting heavy on censorship.
It'll be interesting to watch.
It's going to be really, really interesting to watch.
I think, all businesses have some sort of challenge and different market forces that just is uncontrollable. And watching how they deal with it is very fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And Facebook's also pretty opaque. So it's hard to know what they're, just like Google. You don't really know what their challenges are, and you don't know how they're solving them because they don't talk about it.
Well,
proprietary information is what they'd call it.
Well, I actually read this really cool book the other day, and it's called Great by Choice.
Okay.
By Jim Collins, and so he actually studied a bunch of companies. I believe Google was one of them, and so he has this category called the 10x companies, and then he has this other category called the comparison companies. Okay. And so he literally does an analysis on these companies, and one thing that he looked at was he actually did an analysis on luck, right? And so he broke it down in terms of he actually figured out that, I'm just going to jump to the key takeaways, that the comparison companies, the companies that didn't perform as good as the 10x companies, they actually had about the same amount of good luck opportunities, things that just happen that are out of your control that actually help propel your company forward, right? Okay. So it was about 50-50. And then in terms of bad luck, the 10x companies actually had slightly more bad luck events. That's what they're called. Good luck events and bad luck events. Just slightly more. And so whenever you zoom out on that, I think the key takeaway was that that you're going to have both good luck and bad luck. It's going to happen, right? The change of the seasons. It's going to be winter eventually. And when it's winter, it's going to be summer. Right? But the fundamental difference is that whenever you're in the winter, when you're getting those bad luck events, how do you get the best return on those bad luck events? Same thing goes with the inverse. When you're in the spring and you're having a hot streak of good luck events, are you getting the best return on those good luck events, or are you just squandering it? Right.
How do you maximize the good, minimize the bad? Sure.
Yeah. So I thought it was fascinating, and that basically, kind of thinking of Facebook, it's like you have the censorship.
Hold on, guys. Sorry, I will have to edit that out. Or not. Where is my... Oh, the joys of being a record label. Sorry. Yes. So yes, we have to minimize the bad, maximize the good, and so how? So do you have any examples? How does one do that?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to give you an example, I'm trying to think of an example that they used. Southwest Airlines.
Okay.
Right. They had 9/11 happen. Okay. And that's a bad luck event, and that's going to have an impact on their
on the whole industry.
On the whole industry,
sure.
Exactly. And I don't remember the details. I'm not the author, but they were able to keep the revenue consistent, and make the most out of that event. And so if you actually zoomed in on that, look into the details, read the book, he talks about how they did it. And one way they did it is that they have a specific recipe that they follow. And it's called a SMAC recipe: specific, methodical, and consistent. And so to give you an example, have you ever flown Southwest Airlines?
That's pretty much what I
Okay. Do they ever serve food?
No.
No, they never do, because that always complicates business. Yeah. It always slows things down. And so they always give you peanuts, we know that, but they never serve food. That's part of their SMAC recipe. They follow that code no matter what. And then I think they have a certain, time frame or duration where they get in and out of terminals, and they always ensure that no matter what, they always will adhere to that duration, whatever it is. And so they have I think 6 to 12 of these guidelines that they go by, and because they follow it so consistently, so religiously, whenever you have an event, a bad luck event like 9/11, they were able to stay above and beyond the status quo, and still bring in revenue, a positive revenue stream, despite that bad luck event.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, and then so that's minimizing the bad. The maximizing the good that I know with with Southwest is when gas prices were low right before the last spike, they bought a bunch of futures. They locked in their fuel prices for a couple of years, and then fuel prices spiked, and so they were still getting cheap fuel, and all the others it jumped up on them.
Nice.
Jet fuel's way more expensive than gasoline.
Yeah.
Also, here's an interesting note. Did you know that it's, from a carbon footprint standpoint, it's way harder on the environment to fly than drive? Airplanes put out a ton of emissions.
I think I did read that somewhere sometime, yeah.
Yeah. So that's food for thought. But what else? So you're out doing these conferences, you're talking about this is what you're out talking about, or what's the focus of your talk? So you go out and talk.
Yeah, so a lot of these conferences, the audience they're young professionals.
Okay.
I do go to some colleges and talk to some students, and so I try to I keep it a little squishy, and so I talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, certain principles and guidelines. Is kind of like I was talking about the SMAC recipe, that same SMAC recipe, but for entrepreneurship, that you can start adopting to help you become a successful professional. Whether you want to start a company or not, I think having those entrepreneurial skills will help you in today's competitive market.
That's true. Because I've got the bent for it, right? Just hell bent on getting this off the ground and going. Buy records. So, and yeah, I notice because I still hold down a day job, but yeah, you interview differently when you've got an entrepreneurial spirit, because you're sitting there going, all right, how do I save you money and make money for myself at the same time? How do I do this where it's a win-win? Where a lot of people who have that employee mindset, instead, they're going, well, what do you do for me? And that's all they're concerned with.
I mean, Actually, you'd be surprised. I don't remember the statistic, but it's pretty high. Most entrepreneurs have a day job.
I believe it.
And what really just bothers me is that the media only talks about these rare events where you get this entrepreneur who was like, Mark Zuckerberg in Harvard, dropped out, and then they totally just wash over a lot of the details, all the hard work and stuff, and it just looks like this amazing story. But of course, you're going to read that, right? But it just creates this mirage of what it is to be an entrepreneur, but it's not realistic.
Just like The Voice creates a mirage of what it's like to be a musician.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it goes. There's a great, by the way, for that one, you should watch Hits. It's on Netflix. It's directed by David Cross.
Hits?
Hits, Hits.
What is it about?
It's about a girl who wants to be famous so badly.
Okay.
So badly.
I'll check it out.
It's very funny and very dark and very offensive right at the end, which is great.
Okay.
And it's his first movie he directed. So in many ways, like, because I watch that film and then I look around the world, because I'm in the midst of I'm small potatoes, but I am in the middle of the music industry. So what the people I tend to work with are people who practice constantly, gig constantly, right? And I don't interact a lot with the dreamers. But there's a lot of dreamers and not a lot of doers. And when I was a full-time professional, I would get the dreamers. The dreamers would come to me.
Yeah.
But now that I'm a label, I don't get that. I just get the pros. Because because I'm very transparent about what the deal is, and a dreamer wants to be famous, and the rest of us, we're just trying to make a living. So the dreamer thing, like, I assume you run into that with entrepreneurials, with all this entrepreneurial stuff too, like guys who talk a good game but then don't ever actually, do it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So I think honestly, the way I see it, and it could seem a little, idealistic, but I think every single person on this planet needs to figure out what their why is. What is going to get them out of bed every single morning. And so I see like people who say, I want to be a musician, I want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't do anything. They don't take action, and they hesitate, and so it basically makes me think that they don't really want it as bad as they say they want it. So whenever I talk to an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, I say, how bad do you want it? And I don't know, have you ever heard of the story about the kid who wanted to be successful, and he met this guru? Have you heard that story?
No. How's the story go?
So I got this from a guy named Eric Thomas.
Okay. And
it really drives the point home. So there's this kid, he wanted to be successful so bad, right? And you could say he wanted to be a musician or he wanted to be an entrepreneur, right?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
He just wants to be successful.
Wants to be successful, reaches out to a guru, okay? And the guru is like, okay, you want to be successful, then you need to meet me out tomorrow morning at the beach wearing a suit, okay? And so the kid's like, this guy's crazy. And he's like, well, do you want to be successful? The guru, and the kid was like, well, yes. So the guru says, well, then meet me. Kid, he ends up meeting him, and then 4:30 in the morning, wearing a suit by the beach, guru says, step into the water. The kid's like, you're crazy. Why would I do that? And he's like, do you want to be successful? And the kid's like, yes. So the kid steps into the water, and the guru says, take another step. And the kid's like, if I take another step, I'm going to be waist deep. Guru says, do you want to be successful? The kid says, yes. Eventually, he's like neck deep. He takes one more step, he's going to be under the water. And the guru says, take another step. And the kid's like, at this point, I've gone so far, screw it. He takes another step. The guru actually grabs him, starts drowning him.
Okay.
He's drowning the kid. And then finally, he pulls the kid back up. And the kid just gasps for air. And the guru says, what do you want? And the kid says, I want to breathe, right? And the guru says, good. He says, as soon as you want to be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful, right? And I'm like, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric Thomas nailed it, because that's what it's all about. It's like figuring out what is your why. What do you want to do? And once you figure that out, start taking small steps to start getting that momentum, right? And I think that's part of the hesitation is that to tie in entrepreneurship, how it creates this mirage of what it's really or what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
You know, this big fancy life, private jets. That's not how it is.
Yeah,
right?
not everybody's Gary Vaynerchuk.
And so,
Vaynerchuk?
I don't even want to go there.
Who
I don't
is-
even want to go there.
Has he done any? So let me ask you this. This guy, I see his videos on YouTube, and they're very inspirational, but there's no content. It's just a feel-good pep talk.
I feel like he has a huge like megaphone, and it's overkill for me.
It's overkill,
Personally,
right?
that's just my opinion, though.
Right.
But so check this out.
Okay, so
you know how the media makes it this mirage about what it's about to you be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Well, so when people listen to that, they think big, which I think you should think big, right?
Sure.
But you need to take small steps. Think big, take small steps, and test all assumptions.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Those are the 3 things that you need to do. Whether you want to be a musician, an entrepreneur, think big, but take small steps and test all the assumptions. Because that's another thing is that I think over time you start your core starts to get eroded by all these misconceptions out there, like on Facebook, right? How many times have you read some of that crap on Facebook? And it's just deteriorating to the soul. And I think that's why I stay away from it, right? Is because your mind is like a mental factory, right? And if you surround yourself by just garbage, negative information, garbage in, garbage out,
Right.
then you're not going to have good output, like you said earlier in this talk.
Right. Like where when I talk about all that matters is output, everybody conflates that with quantity, but it's really quality too. It doesn't matter how much output you make. All that matters is it good as well. Like you have to actually make the output, and it has to be quality. They walk hand in hand together. It's those paradoxes.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
And that part's like the one thing I think that happens though, it's the small steps that are the most terrifying for people.
Right.
It's it becomes real.
Well, it has to, going back to being consistent. I read this somewhere, and basically it's like if you need to eat an apple a day, right?
Sure.
But if you're not likely going to eat,
I actually do recommend an apple a day. It
you
helped.
Okay.
It helped a lot.
But check this out, and this is just a philosophy, right? So you eat an apple a day, then let me back up. If you're not likely going to eat an apple a day, you're not likely going to walk around the block. If you're not likely going to walk around the block, you're not
going to run a marathon.
You're not going to likely go for a jog. If you're not likely going to go for a jog, you're not likely going to run a marathon. If you're not likely going to run a marathon, you're not likely to get a gym membership, right? So it's those little things. What can you do, today that over time will build up to something bigger, right? And so that's the thing. It's like you want to be a musician. What can you do every single morning as soon as you wake up?
Practice.
Right?
Practice.
Yeah, practice.
The tough part though is it's when I say practice, I mean obviously you have to practice constantly as a musician, but we're in a period now where it's really not enough to be a musician. Like you're going, yeah, and who edits your video? I'm like, me.
Oh.
And who does this? Me. Like you have to be able to do a lot of things because you got to be able to market yourself, and if you can't market yourself, it doesn't matter how much you practice.
Right. Something that I talk about in my public speaking engagements is leveraging people, time, and technology.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Right? You leverage people because you can't do it all. As an entrepreneur, you're wearing multiple hats, but the really successful people that I've come across are the people who can basically bring in a community and basically delegate task, right? Delegate work, and there's an art to that.
There really is, as I'm finding out with the day job. That's the great thing about holding down the day job, though, is you learn how large organizations run. You learn you really learn how to manage people if you can break into that side of it on the day jobs.
Right.
And then applying that to your entrepreneurial side is a lot easier.
And that's awesome that you're doing that, because this is what I run into with a lot of other entrepreneurs. They're like, oh my God, I got to work for somebody else. I got this day job. And it's like, it's just desperate, right? And they're like, I need to get out of this day job. But actually, this is the
It's
art.
capital.
Right here.
It's how you raise capital.
But check this out. If you have a day job and you figure out how it's in alignment with your why, what your mission, right? To be a musician. Well, we know that we just highlighted that you need to be able to manage people because you
Right.
can't do it all.
Right.
Eventually, you're gonna have to delegate because you're gonna grow. Okay, so if you're in your day job, you're learning that skill, then it's not so bad after all. And then also, let's say that actually I heard a cool quote. It says, "Study the good and the bad." Right? And
Yeah.
so when you're at work and you're seeing them managing people in a bad way, write it down, right? You see what they're doing good in terms of managing people, write it down, and then adopt the good ones, into your business.
And always keep a mental note of the bad to avoid, especially if you have tendencies towards those behaviors.
Yes.
What I found in the corporate world is there's a strange there's no correlation between the ability to manage people and whether or not you manage people, because whether or not you get to manage people has more to do with your ability to do other tasks. Like, if you're an analyst, you have to be a really good analyst before you get to manage analysts.
Well, I think yes, and I would add to that just looking at yourself, if you can't really manage yourself, you're not going to be very likely you're going to be able to manage other people. And so going back to the whole day job concept and having your own side business, what I tell entrepreneurs is that, look, figure out why you want to start a business. And then once you know that why and you're really in tune with it, figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Go to that day job and learn what you need to learn to make yourself a better entrepreneur.
Yep.
That's going to increase your odds of success. But here's the key. This is what you're actually doing. You are basically, you have the world, and you're adjusting it to match what you want to make happen in life. Okay?
Yeah.
So you get a day job, screw it. You're gonna have a day job, you're gonna make the most out of it. Remember how we're talking about, bad luck and good luck and making the best return on it?
Yep.
You're gonna make the most out of that day job to make you a better entrepreneur.
Right.
Okay? And so
Along the way, you're going to get capital that you desperately need as an entrepreneur.
well, that too.
Yeah.
But here it is right here. Is like by doing that, you have just aligned your mission with your circumstances.
Yep.
And then this is the key. When you're managing people, they're there for a reason too. It might not be to start another company. They might not even know. But if you help them figure it out, if you align that for them, when you're managing them, they're going to be 10 times more motivated
And loyal. Because the thing I've found is the hardest part in this corporate world is when for every 100 bad people, there's one good person.
Where'd you get that from?
Experience. No,
Okay.
it's negativity wise, but just there's 99 bad people, there's one great person. The great person will either be recognized very quickly or they will move on to another company very quickly, because really great people will just have offers coming out of the woodwork at them. So it's very expensive for a company to recruit a new person, train them, the loss of productivity while they're getting used to the job. So when they find good people, it's really, really important to hold on to them as dearly as you can. But in order to do that, that takes certain concessions on the company's part, i.e. money. In my day job that I don't talk about, I've watched a lot of really good people come and go. And I've watched a lot of good people stay, and I've watched a lot of bad people stay. And yeah, that's what I figured out, is that there's a lot of people that are just, when I say bad, I mean mediocre, kind of okay, and bad. Like, for me, there are great people and there's everybody else. So if you're great at the job, that's awesome, but don't let your company, like, if you're really, really great, go chase the dollar, because there's other places that will hire you. Absolutely.
Well, I would have to say that yes, there are, there's always going to be that person that stands out. But for
that
me,
1 in 100 that I was talking about.
I don't know if it's 1 in 100.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit,
Pessimistic.
maybe a little bit. But I would say that whenever for me personally, I've had an opportunity to make more money.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. However, if I know that the position that I'm in right now is maximizing the result that I'm looking for, which isn't the dollar, it's to learn so I can be a better entrepreneur, well, then I'm going to stay there. whether I'm going through tough times or not, right? And so what I mean by that is I've worked for a company where the environment was sour.
Yep.
It was going through a reorg. It was very turbulent, right? I could have pressed self eject at any time and just hopped on another opportunity, but it was such a unique situation for me because I was watching a company transform. I was watching it go through a reorg. Okay, now that is a vital reference point or experience to have whenever you're starting your own company,
Right.
and trying to scale it. Because eventually you're going to have to hire new people and do a reorg, right? So with that insight in mind, it really kept me grounded and just really sticking it through versus just pressing self-eject. Anybody can press self-eject, right?
That's true.
And take the least path of resistance.
Yes.
Right? And that's the problem with a lot of people with day jobs. I think you're saying 1 out of 100. I don't know if that other 99, if that's how many it is, quantity-wise. But I do go to work, and I do see a lot of people on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as they feel turbulence, right? They're hitting turbulence, self-eject, right? Because they're on autopilot, they're in their comfort zone, and they don't want to be disturbed. And I just think you're not getting a lot out of life, on autopilot.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I did a job where I used to talk about, I can do this on autopilot. So I kind of... But then what happens is you'll find a lot of people that do their jobs on autopilot, they are hitting it hard in the evenings. They're just not maximizing, like you talk about. They're not maximizing their experience in the day. They're kind of floating through their experience in the day to go do whatever they do at night. Like whether they're a psychic or a... like I've met psychics with day jobs, and they're trying to be full-time psychics. And they kind of cruise through the day, and then at night they go hit hard trying to market themselves and do all these things. But you make a really valid point that you could spend your time at the day job not only being good at your job, but learning lessons that you can then apply to your side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the leverage time piece, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about leverage people, leverage time, and then leverage technology.
That's
the third bucket.
Almost self-explanatory. You just have to not be afraid of it. You have to read the manual. That's right, read the manual. And you just have to have an eye for it. You just have to think of it logically. That's my thing with the technology. You have to be aware of it, you have to understand how to use it, and then you have to actually use it.
Well, it's really comes down to it's an enabler. The technology essentially is doing more with less.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm sure you understand, you as an entrepreneur wearing multiple hats.
I don't need all this stuff to make records anymore. Yeah.
Yes.
You can do a lot with a whole lot less.
And so I heard a cool quote the other day, and it says, your mind's not a filing cabinet, right? Another one said, don't trust your memory. Okay? You only have so much mental bandwidth, especially as an entrepreneur with a day job and you're moonlighting on the side with your side business. Leverage technology so that you can store more information, remember more, be more productive. And one way that I do it is I leverage the hell out of Siri.
Oh, I love Siri. Hey, Siri, remind me in 30 minutes to do this. I love Siri for that.
I get pissed off at Siri because she doesn't like my voice. And she'll, I could be like, hey, remind me that I have a podcast session, with the Jazz Destroyers.
Sure.
Right? And she'll be like, oh, okay, I'll remind you to, watch some jazz and destroy the kitchen. I'm like, what? Like, I get so mad.
It gets better.
Yeah.
Just speak up. You're very soft-spoken.
Well, my voice, I did a talk in Dallas yesterday, so my voice is just kind of wearing down.
That makes sense, yeah. But yeah, Siri does not always get it right. There's a lot of get ready for my, in 30 minutes remind me to get ready for my call.
Yeah.
Like a conference call in the middle of the night, and it's get ready for Michael. And I'm
there
like,
you go.
Close enough.
Yeah, there you
as
go.
long as I know what it meant, that's all that matters. But yeah, I love using Siri. I'm really big on my calendar. I'm super organized with my calendar. I have to be. I did. You're my third interview this week, and we got the full show probably this evening, and then right after you're done, like my phone rang because the saxophone player from the session this afternoon. Like the only way to keep all that stuff straight is to start putting stuff on calendars, because then when when the club calls me and says, hey, are you available on the 11th? You can say, no, I'm playing in Round Top. I'm totally playing in Round Top on the 11th. Come out. Yeah. So you said you had a hard stop at 12:30. Let's, yeah. Do you have any thoughts for the, like, most people in my audience, I assume, are not entrepreneurially bent.
Yeah.
You know, these are people kind of looking at it with a curiosity.
Well,
And then also the you know, people trying to get into it.
yeah, I would say that I think at minimum, everybody is an entrepreneur of themselves.
That's a good. My father always put it. You're always selling yourself. I like
mean,
that way. Yeah.
You got to market yourself, but more importantly, I think that you need to be able to basically recognize, you know, opportunities, identify your own strengths and weaknesses, so that you can pursue those opportunities and take the necessary risk to basically achieve your desires and dreams. And I think so. Yeah, everyone is an entrepreneur of themselves at minimum.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like when people say I want to start a business, the first thing I ask them is why, right? And the reason I ask them that is because if you know why, as soon as you hit a speed bump, which you will, or hit a brick wall, you're going to keep going because you know
the why.
You know the why. Same thing goes for you personally, right? It's like, you know, what is your personal why? Why do you get out of bed every single morning? And so, you know, from an entrepreneurial standpoint and from a personal standpoint, you know, just being really in tune with your core, I think is the beginning for, you know, this arc that you're going to go on for your life.
Yeah. So let's do this. So leave a comment. Let me know what gets you out of bed in the morning, because I'm really interested in hearing what gets them out of bed in the morning. Because like for you,
Coffee.
For me, it's getting up and getting to work, getting to make the next good record. That's what gets me up in the morning.
Nice.
I get to work with some of the best musicians in Austin, making really good music, and I'm always excited to work on the next record. What's yours? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Well, like I said, I had to go to Dallas yesterday, and what got me out of bed is the opportunity to stand in front of, you know, 100 students and just equipping them with the resources to determine their own direction and destination. And to me, that just gets me right out of bed in the morning.
There you go. I think you're going to wind up teaching.
Teaching?
Yeah. In retirement.
We'll see.
You'll see. I mark my words. This is archival, right? So YouTube will still be around. I've known a lot of guys. There was a guy I knew in college named John Aldridge, who he was the voice of 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. He was the voice of it, of the jingle. And here he is teaching jingle writing to, you know, a dozen Berkeley kids. And he didn't need the money. He was doing it because he wanted to do it. He owned a bunch of shopping malls.
Mm-hmm.
He was fine. And yeah, and so he would come in and teach us, and it was surreal, because here's a guy who doesn't need the job, he doesn't need the salary, he doesn't need any of that, but he wants to pass it along. So yeah, I foresee that in your future too. You're going to wind up teaching somewhere when it's time, not while you're still growing everything, because obviously you have to put all your focus in that.
Yes.
But you're going to you'll hit a reflective period and you'll go, all right, it's time to start teaching.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that too.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah. So thanks for coming out.
All right, thanks for inviting me.
I gave you a download sticker. I gave you a download card and a sticker. You know, we have download cards. They're $5 if you see me. They're $10 if you order online. If you go through Amazon, iTunes, any of those, the records. This is the Jazz Destroyers live. We recorded this December something at the Brass House. And the reason we don't say live at the Brass House is because Brass House wasn't paying their ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC dues. And I just could not, in good faith, give them any free promotion. And now they're gone, so I talk about it. But
okay.
I wasn't going to talk about it while they were there. But yeah, they closed down. And that's a business that couldn't figure out how to pivot. The pivot, that when things get weird and you gotta pivot, that's the time, that's real make or break time, at least from my perspective in the history of business.
Yeah, I think.
Like Apple had to pivot from being a computer company to being a consumer electronics company.
Yeah, well, another way that I've heard it is being having flexible persistence.
That's yes.
And I think the pivot is like a buzzword right now, but it's more being, being persistent on that goal or that mission. Like, this is what I'm after, but being flexible enough to do a course correct along the way, if what you're doing is not working, right?
That makes sense. Yep.
So
Yeah. So we're gonna leave unwind. What else? What are the links? Anything else? Any shout outs you want to leave?
I mean,
Because right after this is our shout outs.
shout outs.
Yeah, we do shout outs. We do 3 shout outs. I haven't written any down this week. I'm gonna have to figure out my shout outs. But we do 3 shout outs. Each person, we go around the room.
Okay.
And so you got 3 people you want to shout out?
Oh man, shout out to my business partner,
Right.
Fabio Gomez.
Yeah,
He
Fabio.
helped me build Unwind. Shout out to Miss Eloise.
Yes, of course.
Has she been on your podcast yet?
No, she has not. We're gonna have to fix that.
And then my grandfather.
She's been on Freeform Fridays though.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then of course, shout out to my grandfather. He's not the best when it comes to leveraging technology, so I don't even know if he'll get this message. But he's been my inspiration. He's the entrepreneur that I aspire to be. So
What did he do?
he was an entrepreneur. He was a physicist, engineer, entrepreneur. He started companies in Silicon Valley.
Oh, very cool.
Back whenever it was just starting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming.
All right, thanks for inviting me.
And I know you got a hard stop, so let's get you onto your next thing, and I got to get on to my next thing.
Cool.
But stick around. We got our shout outs, and we're going to have our everybody gets a trophy.
I want a trophy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Let's give you the commuter award
Commuter award
for coming out all this way.
Is awesome. Thank you.
So that's you got to give that back. That is my trophy.
Okay.
This was given to us, I think it was episode 9, Ask a Canadian. Michael had got, because I was originally using this oversized lighter, and we were passing this around as the trophy, but Michael said, I can do better than that, so he got us that little Stanley Cup.
Nice.
With the best hockey team ever. Go Rangers.
Cool.
So yeah, awesome. And on that note,